It is something that I didn't know was actually a part of BDSM when I began, yet something that I've been executing.
Naturally, yeah.
Naturally.
Yeah. The anticipation is certainly a huge part of that draw.
I think I looked into his eyes a little too long and he couldn't control himself.
I've already excavated enough information out of them, yet not giving them any information.
The combination of pleasure and frustration can create a powerful association.
If you take away their ability to pleasure themselves, you've kind of figured them out and have utter control. Welcome to Dommed Podcast. We are your hosts, Mistress Gemma
and Goddess Seraphyna.
Are you ready to be dommed?
Today we are talking about a subject that personally I am very excited to speak on. It is something that I didn't know was actually a part of BDSM when I began, yet something that I've been executing
Naturally, yeah.
Naturally.
Yeah.
For quite some time now. And
how did you link the two?
You, actually.
Yeah?
Yes. And which is Tease and Denial.
It's definitely bread and butter for me. Like it goes with that saying. It's going to be part of any dynamic. It's just a kink that I really enjoy. The push and pull.
Oh, completely.
Yeah.
I have this saying that I strongly believe in, that I flirt with the universe and the universe flirts back with me. And that I like both executing Tease and Denial, but it's this thing where it feels as if the universe is having a cheeky little secret that I am trying to find out. And sometimes they tell me and sometimes they deny.
Yes, the universe definitely shows you exactly what you need to know any given moment. I personally don't do well with denial. I get very worked up.
Yeah.
Like I am not happy. It does not do me any favors, and it does not do the other person any favors.
Does someone get bratty?
What are you talking about? Who? What is brattiness?
Okay, let us begin with the psychological and sociological perspectives on tease and denial. There is a principle of scarcity that suggests that when something is limited or restricted, we tend to desire it more, which reminds me of the first time that I witnessed creativity being applied in BDSM, which you, Gemma, did impeccably.
Yeah. Wait, which time?
So it was a time where we were playing with a specific person. And
who?
Mirko.
Ah. Oh.
Do you remember your anniversary?
Oh, okay, yes. So Mirko and I were coming up on an anniversary, and I was going to be out of town for the said anniversary.
Mm-hmm.
You and him just started.
Yes.
Exploring your dynamic, and I asked you if you would like to be part of a little ruse, a surprise for him. So I had him locked up in Chastity.
Mm-hmm.
How long prior? Was it 2 weeks?
It was, I think it was over 10 days.
Over 10 days?
Yes.
Okay. So I had planned for you two to go to dinner on the anniversary, go on a date, and the ruse was as simple as he's locked up. He's not allowed to be out. He will bring the keys to dinner, and you are allowed to unlock him at any time, but specifically if you could wait or desired at midnight, you could allow him out. But I actually never got quite the details of what occurred once you let him out. So fill me in.
I didn't know we were going to go into such detail.
If you wish.
And somehow I'm currently bashful. What I loved so much is that, one, I had never played with Chastity before, which was so much fun.
So what was your thought when I presented you this idea?
Complete and utter excitement and incredibly impressed with you. And it was something where at the time you had told me a few times that you didn't identify as being creative. And as soon as I read that text, I was so enlightened on how creativity can be applied in BDSM. And it got me very excited on how the ideas that I can come up with in the future. And it gave me permission to use my creativity in ways that I had never before. I specifically loved the idea of right at midnight. I think I unlocked him about 10 minutes before or so and worked him up because I wanted him to orgasm right on the
Midnight,
switch.
yeah?
Yes, right on the switch of your anniversary.
But I feel like 10 minutes was probably far too long. Like, did he last
No,
10 minutes?
no, he didn't last.
So he prematurely.
I know, he tried really hard. I think I looked into his eyes a little too long and he couldn't control himself.
What a pity. I mean, I wish I had known. I would have punished him.
Yes, there can always be delayed punishment.
What did you find creative about that, though? For me, it felt pretty straightforward. I'm forgetting details. Was there like more elaborate?
Well, I thought that there was something so interesting. I had only unknowingly played with my creativity in play when it was in that Dom flow state, but I had never thought about the long term before.
Yeah.
Which I really appreciated in you, that it wasn't just something that you thought of, oh, I'm going to leave, so let's do this the day before. That it was something that, again, going back to that tease and denial of the building and the long term of the psychological as well.
The preparation.
The preparation, the lack of telling him, because I think that you only told him like the day of. You hadn't.
Okay. Yeah, I think I remember that I didn't necessarily tell him he was allowed to be let out of the cage or released. And then the day of, I said, bring your key.
Yes.
And she can decide.
Yes.
Ultimately.
But it was the first time that I ever had experience with co-doming, which was really, really fun.
It's always so much more fun when it's with another friend.
And that connection that we have and the chemistry that we have and applying it in that way was really interesting for me. But it was having a cheeky little secret with another co-dom and leaving out the information for him for that anticipation to grow. You could see that he was giddy at dinner and he knew that I knew that he had the key, and it was something really fun to play with. I guess I needed to let him out 3 minutes before midnight. And
I think that's still being generous. Maybe 30 seconds is probably all he needed.
And to be able to have felt your presence there was also a really nice touch. So,
well, thank you for playing and participating and making that anniversary memorable.
Oh, of course. The pleasure was very immense on my end as well.
Good. That's the important part.
Yes, of course. Which actually goes to our reward theory of attraction. According to the reward theory of attraction, people are drawn to those they associate with rewarding experiences. In Tease and Denial, the dominant partner becomes closely tied to the submissive's feelings of excitement and longing, increasing attraction. So Helen Fisher's research on dopamine production in romantic attraction suggests that repeated cycles of anticipation and reward, like those in Tease and Denial, can build strong bonds as anticipation fuels dopamine production. In Tease and Denial, the combination of both pleasure and frustration can create a powerful association with the dominant, enhancing attraction. So, like we were saying, with not just doing it the day before, but having this 10 plus days of desire building. And I think that the bond was really held for both of us. You know, he was very excited, not just physically, but psychologically as well.
And that makes me think about also the things that we find most rewarding often are the things that we've had to work for that have challenged us.
Yes.
because then it feels like we've really earned it, or that when we do receive the reward in the end, that it's attached to something greater and more meaningful than, of course, if we easily get it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Could not agree more. And yes, in the outside of BDSM as well,
All areas of life.
but it is really fun to witness it in those dynamics.
So,
So yes,
submissives just need to work harder and suffer a little bit.
the bond gets better. There is a Zeigarnik effect, which is the tendency for people to remember interrupted or unfinished tasks better than completed ones. This theory suggests that leaving something incomplete, like gratification, keeps it top of mind. We kind of keep going back to this, but in Tease and Denial, I think that when people are really working for something and it incorporates the psychological into the physical, and just really increases the level of satisfaction, increases the level of sensory.
Of experience. Yeah.
Super, super fun.
That makes me think of pattern interruption. Because when there's a pattern interrupt, it makes us more aware of the present moment and what's happening. I don't know if that's kind of what that effect is trying to explain in some way, or at least in part. And so, yeah, we're able to remember things more that are surprising or unexpected, right?
Yes. And this was actually looked into in 1939. So it has been that thing where you, like you said, that pattern disruption, it is something that is really fun for me. And well, I think for a lot of femdoms, where it keeps that submissive on their toes, where they think they're going in one direction, they're building, and then switch and that redirection. It builds a level of excitement and also a level of submission.
Oh, yeah, of course. I mean, it's so simple. At least for men, if you take away their ability to fuck, their ability to pleasure themselves, you've kind of figured them out and have utter control.
Yes. They also give more of a map to what really heightens that for them. Or you're providing a map for themselves that they have yet to discover.
Yeah, chastity is definitely a whole nother topic that I think we should discuss. Quite a few thoughts on experiences with chastity and the shifts that I see when someone is in mental or in a physical device.
Not only Mirko, but I've heard a few people talk about chastity, and it's something that it really does excite me when someone describes the reasons in which it heightens their excitement.
Increases their focus.
And like I said, increases their submission, which just
Oh, yes, absolutely.
makes my heart pitter-patter. There's Tease and Denial that's represented in pulp culture I want to talk about two. One is the Wolf of Wall Street, where Margot Robbie...
Yes, we all know. Remember that one in the little playroom.
Yes, the daddy doesn't get to touch mommy. It gave me some ideas that I might have played with, but the first time that we were ever at a play party, Mirko asked if I wanted to play, and I was quite nervous because I had only...
I'm pretty sure he was way more nervous. I had to hand him the leash and collar, and I was like, go to her and ask her to play. And that is a command. There's no questions. And he tried to get out of it a few times, and I was like, you're interrupting my experience right now.
He was stuttering a little bit. It was so freaking precious. But
it's so cute because he's so well spoken and so grounded and assertive, mostly, except in these moments.
It was, his entire face was red. He kept looking up and down. My eyes in the dark.
I can't wait till he sees this episode.
It made my heart just absolutely melt. I was nervous because it was the first time that I had played in a dominant role, besides the first time where I accidentally became a dominatrix. But I asked if you could facilitate or help mentor me in it. And you looked at me and you go, you have all of the tools. Just lean in. We were all in this
A closet.
a closet. It was spacious. I was laying down similarly to the Wolf of Wall Street dynamic, and I think I had him on the leash already.
Yes,
at that
he
point.
was. He was. Yeah.
It was the first time that I put my heel on his face and the ways in which he submitted. I was playing with his desire and wanting him to want me more and more, and kept refusing access. And it was something that you said, that witnessing the ways in which I play with Tease and Denial was really fun to watch. And it was actually the first time that I ever even heard of Tease and Denial, and that I realized that it is something that I have been playing with since a teenager.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was raised very Catholic and was quite...
So denied quite a bit yourself.
Yes, I was quite prude, but I really enjoyed...
You were never prude. You were forced to pretend you were prude.
Oh, I was prude until liberated.
Mm.
Yes.
I feel like I was never prude, but I played the part very well, the goody two-shoe.
Yes, I think I wasn't, and then I was shamed into it, and I thought that God was always watching and more specifically listening to my thoughts at all times. So I would always apologize. So I think I was conditioned into
That is
being
definitely
prude.
the Catholic guilt, for
Yes.
sure, yeah.
Oh my gosh, it's definitely there.
But I want to say about your Tease and Denial, like it was really quite a gift to witness it, because the way you played with Tease and Denial is quite different than mine.
Oh,
And
can you
so
elaborate?
You have a very playful spirit.
Yeah.
And there's lots of giggles. And the way I command a presence is more straightforward.
Yes.
Yours is definitely a bit more weaved in and out.
Yes.
And playing back and forth and volleying a lot more.
Yeah, I love a push and pull.
And you say that you don't like brats, but I think you subconsciously love them, even though they give you so much grief.
I would more call it annoyance than anything.
So not grief, annoyance.
Yes.
Hyper annoyance.
Hyper annoyance. Just listen to me.
But you like the push and pull too.
Yes, but I like to be the one controlling the push and pull. And I feel like brats have a tendency to try to play and obtain a level of power.
It's to switch it and to overpower and try to take it. Because even as a dominant, I could be pretty bratty. I don't necessarily show it, but I think I'm just bratty in certain ways. I'd be interested in your experience of me and how my brattiness shows, because I don't think I'm very overt about it. But anyways, that's another topic.
Yeah, but there's another one that I think that we both really embody as well, because I think that we are very femme fatale and can tap into this archetype. And I think it's one of the most well-known examples in pop culture, but the Basic Instinct, Sharon Stone interrogation scene.
So hot.
So sexy.
So hot. In her outfit. I want that white dress.
Oh my gosh.
Coat.
Did it inspire you at all? Was it something that you watched before you were a femdom?
Yeah, I had definitely seen the movie prior, but I don't think I consciously identified directly with it. And when I became a dominatrix, I obviously was more interested and curious about examples and different archetypes and different presentation of the dominatrix. That one in particular stands out, especially because it is so psychological. It is absolutely psychological, and the tease and denial is in the banter of the conversation.
Yes.
It's giving them just enough and teasing them just enough for them to be intrigued, for them to be aroused, yet not giving them any information.
I really like you said, the banter with minimal words because it ignites the mind. It makes it go into places that
starts our imagination of what can be, what if, what are the possibilities.
Exactly.
She was obviously in charge of that entire conversation, and she was tracking all the men, interrogating her. She knew how to pull the strings for each individual.
One last story before we end this tease and denial, and this is reminding me.
Although I know that you want to hear more, but we're going to deny you.
Oh, of course. After, I do want to hear if this archetype came through. This is specifically reminding me of the time where you had multiple days with the sub in Paris and how much you loved playing with the psychological and the dynamics and didn't really need toys.
I didn't use a toy at all. I think I tried tying him up once and it was not working towards the direction that I wanted it to, or that I think he was comfortable with. And so I just naturally resorted to purely talking.
So did the Sharon Stone archetype come through during dinner time? Because I remember you mentioned that you really enjoyed the light conversation and then you would bring it back, and then it was kind of that push and pull that we're talking about.
It was more of a reversal of that, where I tend to ask the questions and then I will state my observations in a very mysterious way.
So sexy.
If they ask me questions, I'm an open book, but obviously there are certain things I don't give away. For example, I have new subs that sometimes before meeting me for the first time ask, what can I expect from the session? What can can you give me an example, a rundown of what a session with you would be like? But I've already excavated enough information out of them that ultimately I call them out. I'm like, well, what fun would that be? I know exactly what you shared with me. I'm going to respect what you shared. And what's the fun in knowing it all? Aren't you here to trust me and to surrender? So I will decide at any given moment what I think is best and what makes me happy. The anticipation is certainly a huge part of that draw. And they all say, yes, you're right, mistress.
I love that a lot because you gave me some curriculum to try out myself. And in that, tease and denying the information that is given. Because we always know what's best. Did you enjoy being domed? Like, subscribe, and add your worships in the comments. Follow us on all socials linked in the bio below.